say, obviously a difficult last few days for them, dealing with the pain of losing Game 7 of the World Series. But let's listen in to them right now.
Jay, you want to start us off?
For one or both of you, have you gotten over the bitter disappointment of that Game 7? And what do you think is your top priority in the offseason?
It's a good question. I'm not sure I'll ever really get over it. You know, it's part of the disappointment at the end of any and every year. Obviously, we came really close, but fortunately, I guess we just had to pour ourselves into the offseason planning, the staff contracts, and we've got a number of key positions that we need to hire for, and so we've just been immersed in that. But obviously, it's been really difficult. But one thing that I think has helped is just being around the guys. Like the last few days of guys who've come in and kind of cleaned out their locker, just how focused they are to get back to that, and just how that's the conversation among the group, is just doing everything they can this offseason to put themselves in position to come into camp strong, to have a really good season, and hopefully finish what we did in this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add that obviously there was a real feeling of disappointment coming that close and coming up a little short, but I also think the more time we have to reflect on it, we feel like it's something to build on, just like last year was something to build on, having gone to the CS and having played in, the CS environment in Wrigley Field. I think that prepared us a lot better this year, and I think that's one of the reasons we were able to go a little further this year, is just having that experience is something to build on. So, I think as we look back on this year, we've been there, we know what it's like, and, we'll be even more prepared next time.
Do you guys have your coaching staff in place for next year, and related to that, what's the status of your contract?
Yeah, that is among the things we're working on this week. We fully expect everyone to be back, including Honey. He was really energized going through the year, and talking to him during the World Series, it's something that from all of our standpoints, we have some unfinished business, and Honey's obviously been a big part of our past success, and we look forward to him being a big part of our success in 2018.
I mean, we do have an open Major League assistant hitting coach position. That's kind of the one that we're, going to spend some time the next couple weeks looking to fill.
Along that line, is Chase Utley in consideration for such a job?
I think that's probably a better question for Chase. My sense is that he's still focused on playing. Obviously, he had a lot of contributions for us this year. So my sense is that that's still where his mind is, but it's a better question for him.
Do you guys expect Adrian Gonzalez to be ready for spring training? Do you think it's realistic for him to be an everyday player in 2018?
Yeah, I think the answer to both is yeah. I think, I think time from the off season will really help, where we didn't really have it during the season, and it was trying to kind of expedite things to get back. It was a frustrating year from his standpoint, just having never really missed time like this. And he did everything he could to get back as quickly as he could. But, when you're kind of running out of time in the season, you tend to rush things a little bit, just as all guys do who are rehabbing from injury. And I think when you get to the off season and you have, kind of 4 months to rehab and strength train, et cetera, that we expect him to come into camp strong and healthy.
Has there been any clarity or decisions with Corey's elbow?
We've had a couple conversations about it, and again, similar to Gonzo, we expect that the time that we have in the off season will help heal. So we're going to kind of push back the throwing program a little bit, and go through a treatment program that we feel like will put him in the best position to come into camp and be healthy. We're going to continue to monitor it, so I don't know that we know the exact answer right now, but we're going to continue to monitor it and talk through it and figure it out.
Last year at this time, the priority was on maintaining what you had built, re-signing Turner, Jansen, Hill. what's the priority this winter? How do you improve a 104-win roster?
Well, go ahead.
No, I was just going to, I think, we're fortunate to be in a position where a lot of the team is going to be coming back. Every offseason you kind of take a look at your roster and find potential target areas. And as we look at our roster, we don't feel like we have any glaring needs. And, we're going to continue to be opportunistic like we always are for ways to improve the roster. But, even from a bullpen standpoint, losing a couple guys to free agency, but we do have some guys coming back. We expect Yimi Garcia to be in the mix next year for us. So we have really good internal solutions. It's not going to stop us from looking for ways to improve.
What is your thoughts on Kenta, especially this postseason? And is he still in the mix of the starting rotation next year?
Yeah, from our standpoint, in the last 2 years, Kenta has contributed a lot out of the rotation. It's not that easy to find, guys who basically can take the ball every fifth day and contribute the way he has. That being said, in the playoffs, obviously, there was another gear, and it was special coming out of the pen, but our thought and mindset going into next season is to view him as a starter who also has the capability to be a well above average reliever, and whether that's at different points during the year or hopefully if we're able to get to the postseason and that way, I don't know, but we view him as a starting pitcher first and foremost.
Do you plan to work on an extension with Dave?
I think, the most important thing is that we all have a great working relationship. And from our standpoint, and I think from his as well, we expect / hope to work together for a long time. We have a lot of goals that we all want to accomplish together. And so I expect that to be the case. And if and when we have something, public to share, we will do so. But, for the most part, it's not something that we would ever kind of broadcast step by step. But I think the most important thing is that we expect to work together for a long time.
Darvish said he wants to pitch again for Dodgers just after World Series. Did you talk to his agent before he becomes free agent?
Yeah, we've spent some time talking to you, and just as always the case with guys who are becoming free agents, we talk to those players' agent and just kind of explain the situation a little bit and just communicate in terms of, the thought process and where everyone sees things at that point. You came in and fit in extremely well within the fabric of our clubhouse. Really hit it off with a lot of the guys, and also with Rick Honeycutt. He competed every fifth day and really enjoyed kind of being around, and the teammates enjoyed having him around. So, it's still really early, obviously, in the offseason. We've got a lot of work to do to try to wrap our arms around the market, both on the trade front and free agent market, and try to figure out what makes the most sense for us. And obviously the guys that were a big part of what we did this year that are free agents will also, they've earned that opportunity and that right to go out and see what makes the most sense for them.
Thankfully, a much shorter offseason this year than in years past because of how deep you guys went into the postseason. That being said, does it make it any more difficult as far as time commitments or time restraints as you guys do get looking forward to 2018?
Yeah, it definitely creeps up on you. Even as far as employees go, a lot of these contracts run through October 31st, and we played a game on November 1st. So there's a little bit of catch-up as far as that goes. But, we have the GM meeting starting next week. We expect to be ready with that. We're handling some of the employee stuff and concurrently making, the usual outgoing calls to other front offices and GMs to, just make those connections and set up more talks for next week. So it makes things a little bit more rushed, and, it gives you a little less time to kind of get over what just happened, but that's probably a good thing. So, we'll be ready come the GM meetings next week.
Obviously, emotional decisions are not good decisions. How difficult is this to put the emotion behind when you look at the decisions on you and other starting pitchers?
I think it's fairly typical at the beginning of each offseason where you go through a long season with certain guys and the guys that contributed and that are so happy to be a part of what we're doing, and obviously we're happy that they were key contributors as well. So there's always that emotion of the human relationships and the connections that are made throughout the course of a year. But from the player standpoint, I think it's really difficult for a player to reach free agency, and when they do, we think it's their they've earned that right to kind of go out and see what makes the most sense for them. Obviously, we have moving pieces on our end, and I think the biggest thing is just communicating through it and talking through, how things look for us, which may be different a month from now than it is today, and kind of similar to how we handled things last year with a number of our guys, and just kind of keep each other posted in terms of what's going on, in terms of movement, etc. But I think there's definitely that emotional component, but I think it's more often than not a good thing because we know these guys who have played for the Dodgers and been a big part of what we've done. We get a much better feel and sense for how they prepare, how they compete, how they bounce back, etc. Whereas when you're signing someone from another organization, you're making a trade, we do as much diligence as we can in asking people and getting as much information as we can, but it's not the same obviously as when you're around. So I think more than not it's a good thing, but it comes with those relationships, and I think as long as you communicate your way through it, it works out well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not just the personal connections that you have with the players, which we do, but also your competitive side a little bit. I mean, if you're on a pickup basketball court and you come up just short, you want to be able to run it back. You want to take the same group of guys and be able to go at it again. And, I think that's, we all have that instinct a little bit that we really believed in this team, that this was a championship caliber team. And, you'd love to be able to run it back with the same group, but that's not the business of the game. And to Andrew's point, we've got guys who are going to be free agents who are going to be highly sought after. And but again, to Bill's point, we're excited and encouraged that a lot of this group is going to be back, and we're going to look for every way to make it better. But there definitely is an emotional part to it, a connection to the roster as a whole and to the individuals on the team. And I know a lot of our fans felt that connection this year too.
Can you talk about Shohei Ohtani?
Obviously, it's a situation that we are monitoring closely, but it's premature to talk about right now, being that the formal process has not started, but it's obviously something we're monitoring.
Yesterday,